Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm taking a look at another big update from the Season 27 balance patch. And this update is the rework to Drill Run. Drill Run lost a little bit of damage, but is also now cheaper, and this proves to be a massive buff for a Pokemon with the attack stat of Fearow. Fearow used to be 665 to Drill Run and is now straight 5. The fact that Fearow now has way faster coverage means that it has dramatically improved matchups into many steel types like Empoleon, and actually up one pet can win the zeros against Unova Stunfisk. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. And in game number 1, we pick up a very nice lead, leading Ice Beam Lapras into Fearow. Looking at all the Pokemon that were buffed this season, I really liked the look of Lapras as a strong anti-meta pick. Lapras looks strong into so many of the Pokemon that have been improved, and it's a rare water type that can actually survive an Energy Ball from the very scary Ninetales. My opponent safe switches Dugong, hoping for an Ice Beam catch, but all they're going to catch is a super effective close combat, picking up the one-hit knockout. Back in comes Fearow, my defense is debuffed, the pecs are shredding, but I'm barely able to hold on and make the last second close combat. This guarantees a shield or a knockout. I can bring in the Lapras, fire off the Ice Beam, and now my opponent has to give up their Fearow or both their Protect Shields. And now that I have a 2-0 shield advantage for my Fearow, it basically doesn't matter what my opponent has in the back. They take the knockout with Drill Peck, I bring my Fearow into theirs, I'm always going to be shielding, and now I'm up energy, up a shield, whatever's in back, and it turns out to be a Clodsire is going to have a very bad day. Now Drill Run is straight 5 this season with Fearow, it used to be 665. Drill Run does do less damage than last season, so I can't quite pick up the 2-hit knockout with the Drill Run, but thanks to all these pecks, I can very comfortably peck it into a range where Drill Run will take the knockout, and I've overfarmed enough that I will be able to outpace their Fearow, make the Drill Peck, and take the win. So for game number 1, it's a pretty calm game. Fearow with shield advantage, just absolutely destroying a backline, knocking out a Clodsire, knocking out a Fearow, and getting the win. We pick up a terrible lead in game number 2, leading Lapras into Jellicent. Jellicent is a disastrous lead. I throw one Psywave and then safe switch into the Fearow. My opponent responds with Kecleon, and this is an incredibly cool spice pick. Kecleon did get 2 big buffs this season. It got access to Thunder Punch and Dynamic Punch. So it's a rare Pokemon with a triple punch moveset. Sucker Punch, Thunder Punch, and Dynamic Punch. I'm going to overfarm massively, fire off the Drill Peck, but my opponent is highly likely to put up the shield because they want to try and preserve switch advantage. They had incredibly favorable alignment. So I'm going to have to try and get creative here if I want to win this game. I'm forced to double shield the Fearow. I'm hoping they bring back in the Jellicent, but they save the Jellicent and instead bring in Lopunny. Lopunny running low kick if I'm not mistaken, so it should have pretty fast pacing. I fire off the Drill Peck, get the shield, and send in Primeape. Lopunny did get access to Shadow Ball this season. Shadow Ball is probably going to hurt. I should make the close combat, but I fire off the Rage Fist, predicting the switch at a Jellicent, and the hard read pays off. Instead of close combat being double resisted, that is massive super effective damage. Now I can wait down the timer, send in Fearow because I should be only 1 away from the Drill Peck. In comes Fearow, I launch the Drill Peck. While this will not take the knockout, honestly that's actually pretty good for me, because I should be able to Psywave down with the Lapras, and I don't think the Lopunny can one-shot me. Surf takes the knockout, I send in the Lapras, timer's up, in comes Lopunny, but Lopunny's already taken too much damage throughout the course of this game. Lopunny I think also got access to Thunder Punch this season, so Thunder Punch is going to land, but Lapras survives very comfortably. A very scary lead. We were pretty much behind the entire game, but the hard read of Rage Fisting Lopunny, anticipating the catch on a Jellicent, got us right back in the game, and we're able to take the win. Picking up a pretty decent lead in the next match, Lapras into Shadow Quagsire. My recollection here is as Lapras, you should be able to Ice Beam and farm down. I respect the Stone Edge, and my opponent doesn't end up having Stone Edge. Most Quagsires don't have Stone Edge nowadays. They're typically Aqua Tail plus Mud Bomb, but I really didn't want to take the damage if they did have the Stone Edge, so I'm more than comfortable to just Psywave down. My opponent, however, should probably look to pivot out here, and they do. They bring in Mantine, and arguably, I don't have the greatest answer to Mantine once my Lapras has already taken some damage. I fire off Ice Beam, grab a shield from my opponent, and then I send in Fearow. I am a bit surprised that the Ice Beam was shielded just because Mantine is so incredibly bulky, but I'm very happy to get the shield back. I think my opponent probably should have gone for the double twister, because even though Fearow doesn't have the greatest stats ever, I should be able to survive a wing attack down here, and that's going to force him to throw a Water Pulse and a second charge attack anyway. So Twister will knock out the Fearow, and now I can just bring in the Shadow Primeape. I am taking super effective from the wing attacks, but I will win charge attack priority over the Mantine. Now I can just look to try and ramp up this Primeape as much as possible. Rage Fist takes the knockout, in comes Ninetales. I'm just going to keep farming. They try for the catch, they do not get it, and that's going to seal it. Back in comes Shadow Canine. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. We get a pretty nice lead in the next game, Lapras into Shadow Kingdra. Since Kingdra is not running outrage, that means they're forced to go for Swift in this matchup, and Lapras is actually very dominant here. Swift lands, Lapras shakes off the damage like it's nothing, and now I can look to connect with the hard-hitting Ice Beam. I don't think Ice Beam's going to be knocking out Kingdra, but it will put them into a beautiful Psywave farm down range. They make Swift number 2. I can always no shield, and I'm expecting they're going to pivot here, because if they don't, then I get the full Psywave down, and I just exit having the Sparkling Aria loaded. My opponent's going to be sending in Tinkaton. I'm very happy to just get some chip damage here with the Sparkling Aria, and then I can send in Fearow. I'm just going to look to overfarm as much as possible here. I could have CMP tied Drill Run to their Gigaton Hammer, but I don't think it would have quite taken the knockout. So I put up the shield as they go for Gigaton. In the back is going to be Licky Licky, and Fearow's energy is just going to be way too much here. Drill Peck is going to connect. I can just look to farm up because I'm not really threatened by a Body Slam. Body Slam will do a decent amount of damage, but I should be able to make it to 2 more Drill Pecks if they try and farm down, and then Shadow Primeape should be able to close out the game. Drill Peck will be shielded. I can make it to another Drill Peck as well. Licky Licky in a pretty rough spot. They do exit with a ton of energy though, so I can bring in the Primeape. I'm going to throw 1 Karate Chop, switch into the Lapras, and get the catch. Now, I'm very confident I'll be able to close out the game with the Shadow Primeape now that they have wasted a Body Slam. Their win con is full sending a Shadow Ball, so I'm always going to be putting up the shield here. They do go for the Shadow Ball, and that's going to seal it. Back in comes Tinkaton. I overfarm quite a bit. CMP tie with the close combat, and there's just no hope for Tinkaton. It's never surviving. Close combat picks up the knockout. Back in comes Licky Licky, and my opponent is going to concede the match. We pick up a pretty nice lead in the next match, leading Lapras into Pelipper. Pelipper is a recipient of the Hurricane buff, so Pelipper will be able to get to its nuke move even faster this season. I'll put up the shield. I think it's unlikely people would bait something that is as bulky as the Lapras, and it turns out to be a correct call. I send in the Primeape, but unfortunately I was very slow on the counter swap. Licky Licky will go for the Shadow Ball. I farm up, but I realize I'm not going to make it to the back-to-back close combats. So instead I'm going to have to get a little bit creative. I fire off the close combat, I throw 1, wait a turn, and CMP tie Rage Fist to their Shadow Ball. Rage Fist is not going to do much, but I'm going to take whatever damage that I can get. My Primeape's going to get knocked out here, that's okay. I'm just going to trust in the fact that Lapras energy will be good. I send in Lapras, they pivot into the Pelipper, and I'm going to be firing off the Ice Beam. Ice Beam should set up a nasty farm down for the Lapras. My opponent tries to make the Hurricane, but they're unable to get there. Unfortunately, I haven't really been able to use Fearow so far in this game. My opponent is going to wait down the timer, send in Seismitoad, and I have this game won. I have so much energy on the Lapras. I have an entire Fearow in the back, and look at the amount of pressure that Lapras is able to put onto Seismitoad. With the Psywaves, Lapras comes very close to picking up the 2-hit KO. I would love to get a catch onto the Primeape, but I expected they would do 2 mud shots in the move, but they end up doing 1. So they fire off the Earth Power, I pivot into the Fearow, and they send in Licky Licky. At this point, I have to do some mental math. Where are they at in terms of residual energy? I think they're on their 2 cycle, so I throw 3 pecks, and I'm able to get it right. I CMP tie the Licky Licky to the Body Slam, deny that energy with the Drill Peck, and now it's a race. Seismitoad versus the Fearow, and we win charge attack priority. The perfect energy management with Fearow. Fearow takes the knockout and secures the win. Hopping into the next match, we pick up a pretty decent lead, leading Lapras into Kanto Ninetales. My opponent safe switches into Sliggoo, and this is not a Pokemon that I have seen a lot of so far. I think this is my first time battling against Sliggoo. I fire off Ice Beam, Sliggoo puts up the shield. I believe for a nuke move, they have Dragon Pulse. Dragon Pulse would do a lot of damage. I'm going to be no shielding here. They do full send the Dragon Pulse, and it's time, let's send out Fearow. Even if my opponent Body Slam baits, I still want to try and invest in the health of Fearow. They actually full send the Dragon Pulse again. I'm very happy I shielded. Now I can overfarm, take the knockout with the Drill Peck, and I'll have access to the cheaper Drill Run for when they bring in the Kanto Ninetales. I'm expecting they will have to bring in the Ninetales here. My Lapras took a lot of damage, but I do have a bunch of stored energy. In comes the Ninetales, I fire off the Drill Run, winning charge attack priority. This won't knock out, but it's going to do a very, very significant amount of damage, so Ninetales will invest the final Protect Shield. And now the shields are down, I feel pretty okay just letting the Fearow go and sending in the Shadow Primeape. It's going to be Hisuian Electrode in the back. That's another buffed Pokemon. Electrode has access to the Energy Ball, which is now 45 energy. Unfortunately, Electrode is also dead. Electrode gets absolutely one-shot by close combat. Back in comes the Kanto Ninetales, and we're just completely running away with it. The Shadow Primeape, close combat after close combat. Fearow did such a nice job at setting up the Primeape there. Fearow's coverage and his new pacing, man, I really enjoy playing this Pokemon. We pick up a very nice lead in the next game, Lapras into Shadow Jumpluff. Shadow Jumpluff is able to spam out energy balls every 5 fairy wins, but I can tank an energy ball very comfortably, and I have double super effective Ice Beam. In this game, I believe I end up making a pretty big misplay that comes back to bite me. I fire off the Ice Beam, and realistically what I should do as the Lapras player is just let the Jumpluff knock me out. Instead, I go for a catch and sneak, but Energy Ball actually does quite a bit of damage, and if they're leading Jumpluff, it's highly likely that they have a Pokemon in the back for me, and they do, they send in Celio. The Energy Ball also defense dropped me, and that means that I'm actually not going to make a second Drill Peck. What I should have done was just let the Lapras get KO'd, bring in the Fearow, and then if my opponent pivoted into the Celio, I would have had a hard punish available when I brought in the Primeape. Instead, I bring in the Lapras, I get one turn bring in, so I end up losing charge attack priority there as I try and fire off one Psywave in the move. My Aria will be putting them pretty low, and I just really have to hope that Primeape will be able to sweep this game. Unfortunately for me, this Jumpluff is still very much outside of Rage Fist range, and most Primeapes don't run Ice Punch, so my opponent doesn't really have high incentive to put up a shield here. Instead, they're just going to be no shielding. I fire off the Rage Fist, it connects, but I can never really Karate Chop down, and I'm forced to fire off the Rage Fist once again. This Rage Fist will be securing the knockout, and now I have a +2 Primeape, but no, they put up the shield. They're trying to go shields down. I guess that does end up working out okay for me, and they're going to pivot into the Ninetales. I'm going to go for the catch, but they don't go for it. It's a 50-50, and I did not get it right. Had I ended up just letting the Lapras go and then bringing in the Fearow with the shield advantage, I think I win that game, but this is my first game with the team. I don't think I played it particularly well, and it ended up costing me. We get the spinny ball of death in the top left corner in the next match, and I'm missing Psywaves like crazy. My opponent safe switches into a Celio, and I make a massive misplay. I was really frustrated by the fact that I was missing fast moves, but I should have saved the energy and brought in the Primeape. Primeape's going to do fine into the Celio, but by staying in and throwing the energy from the Lapras, now I've basically gotten zero value out of this energy whatsoever. My opponent's going to fire up for their Body Slam. I try and pivot into the Primeape, but I end up getting the one-turn switch when I should get 0 there, which is very frustrating. So unfortunately, we had a very good lead and a very good swap, but I've just played it terribly, and now I'm in a lot of trouble. I had close to 100 energy on the Lapras, and I ended up throwing it when it was resisted at the Celio, and now, as Shelgon doubles up, I'm going to have to give up a shield or lose the rest of it. So I bring in the Shelgon, I lose charge attack priority, and this game is just completely gone off the rails. I let my frustration and missing a bunch of Psywaves get to me, and that ended up costing me the game, as I just ended up making misplay after misplay. In the back is Shadow for Alligator, and this game definitely should have been a win. If I played the team well, if I brought the Primeape into the Celio, and if I banked all the Lapras energy, I would have been in a pretty good spot. But instead, I didn't do that. I wasted the Lapras energy, I got all my shields down, and then I just got one-shotted by an Ice Beam. Man, that game definitely did not go how I was hoping. We move to the next match, and we see a bit of a core breaker lead, leading Lapras into Tinkaton. This is not a good matchup for Lapras, but if my opponent fires off Gigaton right away, I'm just going to immediately pivot into the Fearow. However, my opponent actually makes a really nice play here. They overfarm massively, and with this much residual energy, I can't freely send in the Fearow, so I'm forced to stay on the field with the Lapras. I'm going to end up soft losing this matchup, but honestly, I feel that that also works out for the best. Because then I can go for a one-shield farm down with the Fearow, and Fearow energy is just so incredibly strong. Gigaton Hammer will take the knockout, and now it's time, send in the Fearow. They make a third Gigaton Hammer, I put up the shield. I'm fully expecting my opponent is going to pivot here, and when they don't, it makes me think that they could actually be weak to Fearow in the back. My opponent sends in their next Pokemon, it's going to be Licky Licky. I definitely would prefer to see this on the Primeape, but Fearow actually does do quite well here. Licky Licky gonna overfarm massively. They overfarm too much, and now they're in trouble. I have 2 Drill Pecks. Drill Peck should take the knockout here. My opponent tries to survive. They get KO'd, and in the back, they have Malamar. Malamar, not the greatest matchup for my Shadow Primeape in the back, but I can fire off both Drill Pecks, get some very nice damage onto the Malamar, or pressure both shields, and then close out the game with the Shadow Primeape. My opponent needs to double up on Malamar to win the game, but by the time they do so, I now have the close combat. I win charge attack priority, and close combat is easily going to be knocking out the Malamar. My opponent's energy management with the Tinkaton was honestly incredible, but by trading one shield for a massive farm down with Fearow, Fearow energy is just too strong. Hopping into the final match, we pick up a very nice lead, Lapras into Drifblim. I have not seen a Drifblim for quite some time. Honestly, I kind of miss Drifblim. Drifblim was often paired with like the Wigglytuff Gastrodon team, and that team was definitely not my favorite, but I do definitely miss seeing Drifblim. Shadow Ball is going to hurt. I'm very okay letting this go. It's an ominous win. Okay, this sometimes happens day one of a new season. You'll run into some less than optimal movesets, and in this case, there is an Ominous Wind, Icy Wind Drift Limb, the double wind tech. We're now debuffed by one stage, but Ice Beam is still Ice Beam. That's going to be knocking out the Drift Limb. My opponent's going to be bringing in Quagsire, and I just get aggressive, and I pivot into the Shadow Primeape. I'm putting up the shield. Aqua Tail will hurt. My opponent actually goes for a Mud Bomb. They were really looking to try and lock in some damage. I'm going to farm up quite a bit, fire off the close combat on the charge spec priority to Mud Bomb number 2. Close combat should knock out from here, even on the regular Quag. They put up the shield. I'm going to shield right back. And the fact that they are heavily investing in this Quagsire does give me quite a bit of hope. I farm up, fire off the close combat. I was worried that if I CMP tied, they might catch onto something. Close combat will take the knockout. It turns out they could never catch this move because there's a licky in the back. Well, Fearow gets the game off here. This is just a Primeape sweep. Close combat after close combat, knocking out Pokemon left and right, and that secures the win. For day one of the season, this really felt like one of the best teams for this new meta. Lapras feels like such a sleeper pick. Lapras' ability to have really nice play into all of the new flyers. With Ice Beam, it can fight back against Jumpluff, and I love the fact that Lapras is a rare water type that doesn't get completely dunked on by Kanto Ninetales. Now, don't get me wrong, Kanto Ninetales is still going to inflict monster damage onto the Lapras, but Lapras' ability to survive a non-Shadow Energy Ball and never be able to be Embered down is really clutch. I felt like Lapras really set up this backline for success in the vast majority of games. And Fearow, I've already been super kind to Fearow throughout this video, and it's only going to continue here. Straight 5 to Drill Run is incredible. This means that if you're using Fearow as a lead, for example, and you lead into Empoleon, you can just win that matchup in the 1s and 2s now. You're no longer getting outpaced. You have that 10-turn pacing, and I feel that with a Pokemon that has as high of an attack as Fearow, you don't really feel the damage reduction as much as other Pokemon might feel it. And that's just because you already have an attack stat that's over 130, so even though you're dealing less damage because your attack stat's so high, Drill Run still kind of feels like old Drill Run. So I'm a huge Fearow fan. Fearow, I think, is going to be a very strong anti-meta pick in this new Season 27. I think it's called Forever Forward meta. I'm still kind of getting the new season name memorized. I think it's Forever Forward. I'm not 100% sure. But I think Fearow is going to be a very strong contender in this meta. I loved Fearow's ability to just kind of take over games with a small energy advantage. And I think Fearow could actually be a pretty decent save switch considering the fact that now with this new pacing, up one peck, you can just win the zeros into Unova Stunfisk. So if you're using kind of an ABB double flyer team and you need to bait out Stunfisk, Fearow could be a very strong save switch there, as Fearow would always be able to generate some kind of advantage, whether it's switch advantage by landing the 2 drill runs, or shield advantage by landing the first drill run and then getting the shield with the second. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching today's video, please do help support the channel by leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not. And an extra special thank you, as always, to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide to the channel is so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.